Hi, my name is TJ Gilmore, and I'm here to introduce the very first episode of Topic North Texas, a podcast by the North Texas Commission. I happen to be the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Engagement. Some of you may know me in my public sector role as a mayor. So local interdependency, talking about how we do things together as a community, and speaking about regionalism is kind of where I will be throughout this entire process. However, my colleague over here to my left has a little bit more interest.
Hi, I'm Andrea Coker. I'm the Chief Advocacy Officer for the North Texas Commission, and I'll be offering some tidbits about state and federal politics. Even though the legislature's not in, the fun never stops, so I think we'll have plenty to talk about as we prepare for the 90th session.
So as we're going through this podcast, and you all are going to be dealing with this just like we are, our goal here is to get people to understand both the federal and state impacts of legislation, the types of things that we're working on as a region, but also how the region works together. One of the challenges I think that North Texas has is when you talk to both our state and our federal legislators, it's not a consistent voice. If you go down to Houston, it's Houston. Yeah. Right? If you go to San Antonio, it's San Antonio. El Paso, it's El Paso. You come to North Texas, there's 15 cities with 100,000 or more in population. So who do you talk to? Is it Arlington? Is it Frisco? Is it Dallas? Is it Fort Worth? And then if you want to bring that stuff back, you want to bring dollars back to the region, programs to the region, legislation to the region, you've got all sorts of different legislators saying different things for their small part of the Metroplex. But if we can all get together behind one voice, we actually can probably get much more done in the regional level, both at state and federal.
I think that's accurate. We have everything from farmland to the 9th biggest city and the 13th biggest city in the country represented in what we call North Texas. There's 8 million people, so there's a diverse list of wants and needs and infrastructure needs. And so we're just helping give the region a voice in Austin, in Washington, and to go and advocate for the best thing for all of North Texas.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that the North Texas Commission actually was started with just this in mind, right? We back in 1971, the business community here wanted a large regional airport. So we call it DFW now, third largest airport in the world, which is really the economic driver. And our organization actually came up with the term Metroplex.
It did.
And so here we are today, trying to find and bring together those coalitions to do things like the DFW airport, which wasn't happening because we had two big cities that were fighting about which one went where. In fact, rumor has it that the reason that the airport is oriented north to south is so that it didn't orient to one city or to the other.
That makes sense. The commission also served as basically a marketing arm for the North Texas region, which is funny today to think about North Texas needing marketing in the first place, needing to tell somebody from New York that Dallas and Fort Worth exist. So we're proud of how far we've come, and now we're just here to help lay the groundwork for the next 50 years.
Absolutely. So, Andrea, what are we dealing with as far as politics right now? It's kind of quiet, right? Which is always makes you worry.
Well, a little behind the curtains magic. What we're hoping is that we are coming to you from a government that is back up. Right now, TJ and I are recording, and we don't have a federal government, which is a problem. So we are hoping by the time you are hearing this, we have a fully functioning federal government. Right now, we are in the middle of a shutdown, and so we're not going to talk a lot about that because the news seems to be over and changed before we could even stop this podcast recording and move to the next one. I will talk a little bit about what happened in Austin. We just came through the 89th session and then 2 special sessions focused on water, education, obviously passing the budget, and a myriad of other things that are great for North Texas, some wins, some losses. We're not going to fully dive into that today because we have an election coming up. It is probably the least voted in November election that will be, which is a problem because there's some really important things on the ballot. We are having a proposition election in North Texas, or in all of Texas, for 17 constitutional amendments will be on your ballot, on everybody's ballot from El Paso to Galveston, right here up to McKinney and Frisco. And these are long-term commitments to the state. And some of them are money, some of them are tax-based, some of them are judicial. We encourage you to go vote. Early voting starts October 20th, which is Monday, and Election Day is November 5th. So we at the North Texas Commission obviously read and studied all 17 propositions and said, you know what? We think that our members, who are mostly cities, school districts, businesses, large employers in the area. We think these 5 are really important for us to use our platform to speak about. And the first one is Proposition 1, which provides consistent funding for Texas State Technical College system. This is a vital part of our Texas workforce. And so far, they've been dependent on budget by budget cycles for their funding. This will give them long-term funding, allow them to invest in infrastructure and growth. They are truly a backbone of our Texas workforce. And so we are thrilled to encourage you to vote yes on that.
You know, one of the things that I've learned about TSTC, been able to work with them for the last 2 sessions, they're unique. They're not like a community college. Most community colleges are funded by your local county.
Yeah.
TSTC is being funded directly by the state. So their model has always been to open up a county, go reach out to the business interests that are in that county and build a campus with those donated funds. So the community actually would build the TSTC campus, or, you know, the municipality would find a way to give them land, those types of things. So it's very, very different. And then, of course, they're funded on a different outcome-based formula as well. So they don't, it's not like they just make tuition and keep going. They actually are funded based on providing employers with great employees that make good paying jobs. So it's a really interesting formula. Texas has done a really great job on this one, and I'm really excited to see them getting some infrastructure funding so that they can continue to grow.
It's hard to continue to grow when you're dependent on a vote every 2 years by a completely different body. So we're hoping this will give them the ability to long-term plan and really grow and build up even more of our Texas workforce, as we have many, many jobs that need filling with these specific technical skills. Now, the next proposition that we are encouraging a yes on is Proposition 4. Many of you have heard of the water infrastructure needs that Texas has. I would say if every day you get up and turn on your faucet and water comes out and you don't think about it, and you want that to keep happening, you should vote yes on Proposition 4. This is allocating $1 billion a year in sales tax revenue that you already pay to water infrastructure for the next 20 years. So it's an over $20 billion investment with some other bills that passed, setting up the Texas Water Development Board. They are going to have water development projects across Texas. This is going to be a split between reinvigorating the infrastructure that was already in place in some of our bigger, older cities, reinvesting, revitalizing some of that infrastructure, as well as new sources of water and getting that water out to our growing communities that are happening all over our suburbs, and really all over Texas. So in order for us to keep providing water, Texas is growing. I think we've all seen projections. Right now we have 8 million. I think we're at 12 million in just a few years.
Yeah, 2040 to 2050.
We need this investment in our water, in the future of water, getting clean water to your houses and taking the dirty water out. So we hope that Texas agrees and decides to invest in this long-term water. So we're encouraging a vote yes on Prop 4.
Yeah, really excited about this one as well. I mean, my city continues to invest in water. People keep coming. We've got a huge influx of data centers. They use water for coolant. And so those are some real challenges that we're going to have that are going to stress the system over the next 20 years. And we have to continue to be competitive. And if you don't have water, it's really difficult to be competitive.
Yep. And so the next one is Proposition 6, which is it prohibits taxes on securities market operators and taxes on securities transactions. To be clear, you still have to pay that federally. We are not saying don't pay your federal taxes.
That's right.
This is Texas saying we are getting Y'all Street. We are seeing the Texas stock market come alive. We want to go ahead and set up provisions in our Constitution now before it opens that you will not be taxed on securities transactions from that or anywhere on the state level. So I think that's great for businesses. Texas has consistently demonstrated that they want to be the best place in America to have a business. And I think this is a great step towards making sure people know that Texas is open for business.
Yeah, and then this is one of those that, as I understand it, we don't have that today. It's not anywhere in our rules.
No one's suggesting that we tax securities
but
transactions.
Instead, we're going to throw it on the Constitution to lock it out so that nobody in the future tries to do it.
And that security gives companies who are thinking about investing or moving to the Texas Stock Exchange the security that won't happen. It gives people confidence to come and invest and make Texas even better.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. What else do we have?
The next one, and this was a bill by our very own local Morgan Meyer, just his district, we can probably see it from this window, is a tax break for personal property for business owners. The tax exemption for personal property from business owners was $2,500. That is now going to be $125,000 if this passes. That's an incredible gift to small businesses who own inventory, want to invest in manufacturing equipment, want to grow their business at all. This gives them a lot of runway and really shows that Texas is not just a place for big business with securities, but really small businesses who their business model could be changed by this kind of tax break. So we're looking forward to what that looks like for our small businesses if this passes.
Yeah, the last statistic I read was that 99% of all jobs in Texas belong to small businesses.
Yep.
Now, small businesses are 500 and below, but they're a tremendous power for our economy. And if we don't do that, if we don't find ways to help, I mean, we're getting hammered. I don't know about you, but every time I talk, it's property tax, insurance costs that just keep going through the roof, and the state doesn't have a whole lot of leverage on insurance. They claim to not have a lot of leverage on property tax, but the state does set how the CAD, the appraisal districts, are supposed to appraise property. So it's an interesting dynamic when we're trying to figure out how to help people be more successful. What levers can we pull?
Well, and all of our cities are great at bringing in huge businesses. We have Goldman Sachs building their incredible campus right here in Dallas. We want the muffin lady who provides muffins to Goldman Sachs to also get a tax break and know that her business is valuable to Texas. And I think this bill does that.
I think that's great.
And then the last one, which if you heard about it, you probably heard about it from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, is the Dementia Prevention and Research Institute of Texas. This is his desire, and it started from him. It was originated in the Senate to invest a lot of Texas's money, $3 billion, in the future of dementia research here in Texas. This will benefit not only families across Texas from whatever research is done, but several of our universities will be part of that research. UNT specifically, UTD, SMU will all be a part of that research. And then hopefully it will do a lot in the fight against dementia and make a real difference for the lives of a lot of Texans and Americans and all over the world.
Yeah, hopefully that investment continues to spread. I mean, I've got history of dementia in my family.
Same.
So it's one of those things that hits a lot of us. And if we want to have a good quality of life, we need to make sure that we're putting the research dollars in.
This is going to be a one-time investment, and so we are encouraging voting yes on all of those. If you want to read more about these propositions, all other propositions, or see when and where to vote in your county, you can go to our website, which is ntc-dfw/November 2025, and you'll see everything that you need to know about the election, making sure you know when and where to vote, what to vote on. If you've got any other questions, I think you can also just email me, call TJ, whatever you want, and we'll sit and help you walk through all 17 of those propositions if you'd like.
Absolutely. And folks, Andrea mentioned this, that nobody votes in this election. And I will tell you that when we look at the statistics, these are the elections that count the most. They move the needle the most on your day-to-day life. It's your local elected officials, your state elected officials. Everybody comes out to the November for the president. Yeah. And the president, while, can do a lot, the massive amount of the stuff that comes out of our state capital and your local municipality, that's going to deal with your day-to-day a lot more than anything that's happening in D.C.
Well, and if you get frustrated because you think, well, Texas is red, my vote doesn't matter either way, this is a great way to have your vote matter, because a lot of these, I think, propositions are going to be very close. Yep. So we'd love to see you come out. If you've got more questions, we're happy to answer them. And make sure you're planning on voting in this election.
And folks, if you have comments in the notes, you have some resources online that you want to give out to the rest of our viewership, you can go ahead down. It's in the virtual below. But we will have comments down below. We'll add more supplemental material. Mm-hmm. We'll put the links to all of our anything that we post up here.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
You can find the link in the show notes.
There it is.
First one.
There it is. You've been taking lessons from Scott Braddock, I think, right? So awesome. We'll be on a lot of different platforms. So we're really excited to be doing that.
So that's a bit of our political recap for now. As I'm sure you are all aware, if you do this at all, there's always the threat of another special session. Every room I go into with government affairs or lobbyists, I hear 3 different stories on if there is going to be, if there's not going to be, when it's going to be, what it's going to be about. So we can play the guessing game, but we won't know until the governor tells us. And when he does, tune back in and we will be talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to shift a little bit into, what is it that the North Texas Commission is doing about regionalism, and what is that? And it's not just about geography, right? When we talk about regionalism, we're really talking about shared opportunity. We're talking about cooperation versus competition, or as I like to say, co-opetition. I find that if we can find ways to work together as a region, we usually can bring more to the table than any other individual city or any other individual state, which is part of the fun, is finding those places where we can all work together. Now, the flip side is you start competing, and sometimes that starts turning into a zero-sum game, right? So every city's trying to get a bigger and bigger deal, and it creates, businesses can play cities against each other, and so it becomes this really chase to the bottom, and then nothing is really net added to the region because we've given away the farm, so to speak. So that's one of the things that I think is really, and it really attracted me to working for the North Texas Commission, is that ability to get in a room with the decision makers and the folks that are influencing these conversations and say, hey, if we work together, we probably can get more than if we get put and picked apart one by one. So,
and I think at the commission, the way we look at, especially new businesses coming into the region, is a rising tide lifts all boats. If Louisville gets a giant brand new business, that's great for Louisville. But Flower Mound's also going to benefit. Carrollton's also going to benefit. People are going to move in and enrich the communities across the region because of that new business. And so we look at it as just a gain for all of us.
Yeah. So it's about thinking beyond city limits, really, when we're talking about regionalism and what it does. And we have great stories of this all the time. We'll have maybe a business in Fort Worth that's getting supplied from Dallas, or we get somebody that's in Johnson County and their information is coming down here because they've got enough broadband capacity that they can work remotely. So those are the kinds of things that we look at. When we look at water, water's a regional issue. It's not just an individual city. So we have to figure out how to fund that. We have to figure out how to get the water here. We have to figure out how to send it down the river, because remember, everything that is coming down the Trinity ends up in Houston. So all of that water has to do what it does all the way through. So that to me, I think is really important. And we look at, I think the big issues that we have as far as staying competitive. Water's a big one. Utilities are another one. So whatever that is, we're going to, all of the above, right? We should be, Texas is the energy state, no matter how it's produced. And so how do we have good energy infrastructure? How do we provide enough flexibility for businesses if they need to build their own? How do they do that? I mean, I'm hearing stories about micronuclear now, which is, would never have happened.
No.
So how do you do that? How do you protect it? How do you create an opportunity for generation that doesn't hurt people? All of that is fascinating. I mean, we look at the landfills over here. Most of the landfills in North Texas actually produce gas that then moves right into Atmos's gas lines. So when you think of a landfill, it's actually a power generating source now.
So all the trash I get from all my Amazon orders is actually powering
It's actually
North Texas?
powering North Texas.
That's great
There
to
it
know.
is. Isn't that
I
good
like
to know?
that. Yeah.
Right. So it's an interesting space that we're in right now. When we talk about regionalism, we're also talking about things like transit and road infrastructure. Right now, when you look at how we do things in Texas, we actually really, really encourage urban sprawl, which is fine if you want to live out in the country. But if you live out in the country and you want municipal levels of service, police, fire, animal control, that's a real difficult thing to do because you can't provide that level of roads and streets and police and fire to an area that is dispersed and, everybody's living on a 5-acre lot. It becomes a real challenge. And yet we're in a situation in Texas, I think, where our cities and our municipalities have got rather large, what do you want to say? Ordinances, zoning, rules that can make it difficult for a developer to come in and build something or rebuild something. So what do? They find some cheap land out in the middle of nowhere, build up a community, and then they're off to the next thing.
We're taking over Oklahoma by 2050.
Yeah, easily. And that's why I think you saw in the past legislative sessions so much of the legislation about affordable housing and creating more density and those types of tools. They're just trying to figure out, not every city is, 1-acre ranchettes everywhere.
No. And if you want to have fun with someone who's lived in the DFW area for a long time, just ask them what traffic used to be, and they will wax poetic about the lack of wrecks and the lack of traffic on roads that had plenty of traffic back then, too.
Yeah, it's nostalgia is a really interesting thing.
Is.
What people remember versus what it was. So when we talk about some of the challenges that we're dealing with, Andrea, what are, in your head, some of the top things that you think that the region has got to deal with over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think some of the changes that we're seeing, the dependence of all of our future economy on AI and therefore data centers, and making sure we can provide water and electricity to get those built in a timely manner. I think they're going where they get approval.
Right.
And so if Dallas can't keep up with that, you're going to see things moving away. I want that investment in infrastructure here in North Texas so that our technology companies can continue to grow and make their homes here. I think the changing workforce, I think you've got kind of your... We're going to keep talking about these students who were X age during COVID. It's changed a lot of people's outlook. It changed a lot of people's education. It changed their options for the workforce. And so things like, to bring it back to politics, investing in TSTC, we need more plumbers. We need more mechanics. We need more of basically every profession. And so making sure there's different ways, community colleges, supporting our big universities, funding TSTC. We need to invest in our workforce significantly. They call it the Texas Miracle, but the Texas Miracle takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of workers.
It does.
And we need to continue to raise and invest in our students, both in the public sector and in higher education, to fill those jobs.
Yeah, that's a big piece. So when I think about how my city is competitive and how it's going to be successful in 50 years when I'm gone, there's really 4 key things that I think about, and they're all key. They're all being dealt with politically, but they're kind of big picture. And those 4, the first is affordable housing.
Yep.
Right. Can my kids come and live in my neighborhood? Right now, no.
Right now, no.
Can my police live in the community they police? Can my grocery store managers live in the community that they serve? In general, that's really getting to be very difficult. Or the flip side is they're having a 2-hour commute every day.
Yeah.
Or if not more. And when you look at the projections, it's going to be more, significantly more. So we look at that affordable housing piece, and nobody's solved that yet.
Nope.
Nobody's pulled the trigger or figured out the magic bullet for it anywhere in the country.
Stay tuned. That'll be the next episode.
That will be. There's a lot there. The next thing that I look at is, if I want to be a healthy and competitive city, is I look at childcare. And that's an area where we definitely have childcare deserts in North Texas. We have,
and even the non-deserts are not exactly oasis.
Yeah, and it's a challenge. Funding is low. Quality of standards. We demand a very high quality, but payment is not there. We don't pay our child care workers like we pay our sports stars. And they are sports stars.
And they have a harder job.
They do. So child care and accessibility to child care is another big key area. The next that I look at is transit and transportation options. People have to be able to get to and from work in a timely manner. And so how do you do that in a way that is cost effective and sustainable? And then the last one that I look at is education, to go back to TSTC, but being able to get that workforce educated to whatever the new set of skills is. If you've got those 4 things, you are super competitive, you're super sticky. Businesses will come to you. They don't need you to write a check. I think we are at a really interesting point in the history of Texas, because for the longest time we're Texas. Of course people are going to come here, but you're seeing South Carolina, you're seeing Tennessee, you're seeing North Carolina, you're seeing states that have figured out how Texas has done it, and they're starting to really come on strong in certain sectors.
Yeah.
And if I don't have these 4 things, if I don't have a good educated workforce, those businesses will start moving out. So education is absolutely key to what we're trying to do here in North Texas to keep it going.
So is figuring out that affordable housing piece. If they can't live here, if they can't work here, and the businesses don't come here.
That's it. They end up in Oklahoma City.
Sad fate for any of us, right? Sorry, there will be no Oklahoma or Houston support on this podcast.
North
we are
Texas.
North Texas.
That's absolutely right. So, what we're trying to do here in this conversation, and we're going to be wrapping things up in a moment, but I think it's really important that people understand that our goal here is to find the wins for the most folks. Those political wins, those relationship wins, those business wins. We sit at the epicenter of education, politics, and business.
Yeah.
So we're incredibly unique in that way. You know, most chambers of commerce, when you think about, they focus on the business world. They may slide over into the politics or the local governance, but primarily they're in that one section. You have other organizations that support just schools, or they support just cities. So I think what makes this a better solutions-driven organization is that we're talking to everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think TJ and I have both, as you can hear probably in our voices, we have fully drunk the North Texas Kool-Aid. We are proud to represent this entire region. I think if you wake up in the morning and you live in North Texas, you could work in any industry, go to any kind of school, live in any kind of neighborhood, eat any kind of food, support any kind of sports team that you want, and it's here for you in North Texas. It is what you make of it.
Absolutely.
And we are both dedicated to making it the best it can be, and that's working regionally, that's working across the aisle, that's working in Austin, it's working in D.C., and it's working with you, many of our members right here at the commission who give their time and energy into helping us find the right policies and the right things to support.
And that's part of what we'll be doing over this next year is because of the way the Texas local or state government is designed, we have this thing called the interim, right?
Interim.
And so
shorter than it used to be.
Yeah, it's very short now. And you know, when I first got into elected politics here in Texas, oh, they're in session. We got to go down there and talk to them. The decisions have already been made by then. And so how do we approach the interim now? I think as a region, we're much earlier in the conversation. Our policy panels are being created actually right now. And so we'll start having that conversation, and hopefully we can direct that energy into building us up as opposed to tearing us down.
Yeah. So this is also our pitch. If you want to be part of that process, deciding what's important for the region in the 90th session in Austin, and then in the 120th Congress even, contact us.
Yep.
Send us a carrier pigeon, an email, a call, and we'd love to get you more involved.
So, Andrea, we're going to close this off. You know, a lot of different podcasts are, you know, do their winners and losers, that kind of thing. We are a little more positive thinking in that regard. So we're out here
and afraid to call anybody a loser.
That may be true. There's a fear thing there too. But what would you like? We're going to pick some what we think are salient topics or interesting things that we think our viewership might want to go maybe do a deep dive on. So I know you had a couple of things that you thought were like the things that are happening right now to take a look at.
I think we would be remiss, even though we're not going to really encourage you to listen to another podcast, without recommending the brand new Texas podcast by Scott Braddock for the Quorum Report. He would kill me if I didn't say, and you should also join the Quorum Report and become a member. He
does a great job. It really has tremendous insights into what's going on down in Austin, and it's pretty lively to listen to as well. So we definitely, he's in my car all the time. So, yeah. So
I've asked him to get out of mine.
Well, mine's a Miata, so there's not a whole lot of room for him. So, I mean, that's how it goes. But so I had one, okay. and it actually is a podcast as well. I don't know. Maybe some of our listeners get excited by this. Some of our viewers love the political fight. But I know for a lot of folks, what's happening at the federal level can be a little
disheartening.
Disheartening, probably the great word. And so what I'd love to be able to let you know is that it has always been this way.
I know what you're going to recommend, and I co-sign.
And so I had a podcast earlier this year. It's called American Elections, Wicked Game. And this podcast goes through every single election, presidential election in the United States, even all the way up to the last one. Yeah. So if you haven't listened, or if you listened to it before, go back because he's added a few episodes. If you haven't listened to it, please, it will reaffirm your faith that
we've always been terrible.
We've always been terrible when it comes to presidential elections, and it's fascinating to get that view.
It's hosted very well by Lindsey Graham, but not Senator Lindsey Graham. It's a different
Lindsey Graham.
Feels important to note.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I think we're about done with today's. Thank you all for sticking here with us, and please help us by engaging in your community. Let's figure out how we can get more co-opetition and less tearing people down. That's our whole goal, is to build this region up and make it a super successful place.
Yep. Thanks.